Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Yes, I know you can see the green screen behind me. I know you missed Dwayne this week, but it has been hot as hell in Southern California. In fact, I have my fan on, which you'll probably hear in the microphone a little bit. It's not blowing directly into the microphone, the microphone will pick it up. It's just hot as hell, and I don't feel like turning on 2 box lights to get the green screen lighting correct and then making it 20 degrees hotter in my office when it's already brutal today. But anyway, we got quite a few questions over in the forums, so I was going to take some time to talk about some things here, like saw Spooderman this weekend, but I'll wait to see if people ask me about Spooderman in the next couple of weeks. So let's get started with the questions. All right, question number 1, Suop. I'll just say soup, even though it's not soup. Soup Haps. Quick question, what are your biggest hopes for the 15 crossover? Me, personally, I want some Arden trolling. I don't think Arden's going to make any appearances at all in the 15 collab. And I don't want to say the Regalia, because we joke about that not being a thing, but who the hell knows if we could see the Regalia as a mount. I don't know. I feel like there's room. There's lots of weapons, and there's lots of weapons in that game, and there's lots of little things that you could refer to. Like, I could see some people maybe wanting Luna's dress as glamour. I could see some people wanting that. People are going to want Noctis's jacket or the Kingsglaive outfit or things like that. So, I mean, just things like that. I really don't care much for crossovers. I don't dislike them, and I'm okay that they do them. But I don't, like, look forward to crossover events. You know, I'm just like, oh, they're doing that. Okay, I guess I'll do it. You know, that's kind of whatever it is for me. So I don't have a big hope. Those are some things I expect to see. Number 2, hey, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer. Been a while since I last a question. It's all right. All right. So for you, a special Valen bonus. A free year's worth of super fast internet services. Dude, can I get a fucking lifetime supply? This morning I was dropping frames like crazy. So my question is, what would be a good way, to get into raiding? I get this question a lot, so this is kind of like a question. I'd say I probably answer this question like once a month, almost, with Mondays with Mr. Happy. There's really no like one set way to get into raiding. A lot of people just kind of join ragtag groups, and then if an individual kind of stands out as someone who's going like above and beyond, once they've gotten a few clears under their belt, they'll move on to a different static of more like-minded people. Some people just pug it all the time. They literally just party finder it until they meet with success. There's like no definitive way. I remember there was one person who I saw in my chat who was they were just like party findering Thornton, and they were doing well, but they were having trouble beating it. When they did finally beat it, because their performance was good enough through that Thornton, they were able, this was before the crossover party finder, by the way. This was when we just had the server-specific one. They eventually found that same group was actually a group of 7 people who was just like doing the party finder, trying to fill a random deeps because they knew they could carry them, and they didn't need carrying. And then they ended up recruiting that same person. So there's a lot of hit or miss different ways to get into it, and it's going to depend on how much experience you have with prior rating in this game and in other games to some degree. So just try to work your way through extreme primals and through pugging some things, and then try to take those results and apply them to an application. All right, so I had actually already answered this question, so I won't play dumb. Remember in the previous question how you offered me free internet? Well, it kind of died in the middle of the Twitch live stream on the very next question, so I may need that bonus from question number 2 sooner than you realize. So question number 3, I already answered it in my take number 1, so let's see take number 2. Might be a dumb question, or one has already been asked, but I recently just started watching, ordered a laptop to play 14, and I'm extremely excited to play, and was wondering if viewers are able to join your free company and or play with you. So I play with people through the crossover party finder fairly frequently. I don't have my own free company. I'm a member of an endgame rating free company called Elysium, and they have an application process on their website. I believe it's elysium.gg or elysiumgg.com or something like that. It's one of the two. I don't know it off the top of my head. But you'd have to follow their application process. I have no sway, and people can't just join it. I do have a link shell on Gilgamesh. Biggest problem with that, though, is that Gilgamesh is a locked server. You can't make new characters on it. You can't transfer characters to it, which really kind of sucks for recruiting in terms of a free company, especially one that's looking to be competitive in rating. Luckily, with the crossover party finder, it's not as bad, but I mean, if someone wants to come from like Excalibur, it's not really an open option. But yeah, so I mean, I do play with people, but you'd basically be making a character on Ether, and then if I'm doing something on live stream, you'd have to be joining me while I'm on live stream, pretty much. That's the only way it's going to work, until we at least get the cross-server friends list. But even then, most of the time I'm not streaming. I'm not really playing unless it's like something I need footage for. Number 4, and I believe I'm still connected to Twitch. Good. Let's see if we can maintain that for more than one question. And ask away, and ask I ask. I don't know why I couldn't say that. I just brain dumb. All right. So let's see. We have a question roulette. Question about how I would improve hunting. That doesn't sound like a question. That sounds like a suggestion. A nitpicky and poor-worded question. You got me curious. You got me curious. A question about video games and pricing. Oh, I like this one. Do you think that games that advertise future DLCs in the first trailer shown or before release in general should be charged full price? For example, fighting games. Oh, God, dude, fighting games gotten... Listen. I understand. It's a Capcom thing. All right? Yeah, I mean, if you're advertising your DLC before the game is even out, it's kind of tough, man. I guess it depends on how it's being presented, though. Yeah, that's a tough sell, man. I mean, it all comes down to one ultimate question. Is the game that you got without the DLC, does it feel like it was worth $60? If at the end of that, the answer is yes, then you're good. Like Witcher 3, I don't think anyone would argue that that was not worth $60 when they bought it. But we already knew that DLCs were coming for Witcher 3 before it even launched. So, you know, it's case by case. I'll say it's case by case. But honestly, I'm surprised we get around with still $60 for a new release for like a AAA title, because games are really expensive to make nowadays. And if you don't sell a shit ton of copies, it's a huge financial loss for a lot of companies. So I'm surprised some companies don't just straight up charge more for the base game. Please don't do that, by the way, companies. I like $60 prices. All right, number 5. Ayo. Forgive the incoming salt. At least you apologized in advance. Okay, it's been bugging me for a while now, but why the coopity? Just say why the fuck. Is high DPS the only anything 14 community cares about? I say that no DPS, no dead boss. But a tank's first priority is to hold aggro and don't die, then it comes DPS. Healers keep party alive, then come DPS. DPS is DPS. Okay, why it's the only thing community cares about? Because they're not challenged enough. A lot of the higher end members of the community aren't challenged enough just performing the one role that the job is asked them to do. Like if you just sit Shield Oath on a Paladin, just keeping aggro, it's literally like bottom of the barrel effort, because that aspect of your job is built so, it's ingrained so much into all of your skills that you almost don't need to think about performing that role. Then when it comes to actually maximizing your DPS uptime versus your tank stance uptime, and being able to master the art of being in your DPS stance and working together with your team to make sure aggro stays stable. You have all these tools to help move you into that level of mastery to further speed up a kill or to help out your team in some way. It's just something that adds some sort of challenge or a dynamic style of gameplay that it's just not as satisfying to just sit in tank stance a lot of the time for a lot of people. And ultimately, the best way to make sure a boss does less mechanics, kill it faster. That's just that's just kind of how it is. So if you can kill a boss before there's that one mechanic that everyone kind of struggles with, people will always go to do that, aka skip Soar, over just doing, you know, oh, I'm tank stance, I'm a healer, I only do this. It's just generally not enough to keep you busy if you only perform your minimum role when you're not playing a DPS. And don't get me wrong, there are DPS that still need to, you know how like the tanks do a minimum DPS and then the healers just kind of have, they have the healing that they do. Sometimes DPS just do the bare bottom minimum effort, and that's not sufficient enough either. So it's not even just those two roles I have to worry about, integrating DPS into their playstyle. Even the DPS themselves sometimes don't put enough effort forth to put in to get the DPS out of their job the maximum effort. So it's all about effort. It's all about how much effort you're willing to put into any role that you play and maximizing the amount of uptime you have on your different skills. All right, question number 7. Hiya, Haps. Longtime viewer, have a bonus of instant DPS queues for a month. No more, no less. Hey, DPS queues aren't that bad now for the leveling roulette, at least. So my question is more about rating and starting a static. So me and my girlfriend moved over from Rift. Wow, I used to haven't played that game in a while. To 14 around the time Dunscape came out. We got through most of the content, excluding Savage Alexander and then some of the extreme primals. Just by simply being overgeared. We're aiming to do some extremes and raids for the new thing. Do you have any advice on starting a static? So starting a static is somewhat easier than looking for a static, because you just have to look at all the people looking to join the static and try to put like-minded individuals together. My only piece of advice is be prepared to lose some people the first few statics you try to put together, unless you get really lucky and everyone clicks. Because what it comes down to is if not everyone has the same goals and isn't like-minded or isn't near the same skill level, they're going to turn on each other at some point. And you're going to have to deal with some high school drama bullshit where people feel offended that somebody doesn't want to raid with them, yada, yada, yada. It's fucking semantics, and it's not even... That's why I don't lead raid groups. Just look through the party finder, look through Reddit recruitment, look through the official forums for people from different servers on your data center. and then try to pull something together. And then as you start discovering issues, start patching them up and, asking people to, work on their DPS and, try to get open-minded people, because otherwise that turns into a fucking high school drama shit show as well. That's the best thing I could say, because I'm not a big leader when it comes to raid groups, but you got to have persistence and you got to be willing to put up with some dumb conversations to get through it. Number 8, hello, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer, first time askers of a bonus to be immune to the effect of rescue. That doesn't make for as funny of a video, though, so I'll have to decline, unfortunately. Possible spoiler. Looks like it's about Omega Normal, so as much as I'm okay with talking about Omega spoilers at this point, they said spoilers, so when I thumbs up again, spoilers over, spoilers begin now for whatever Omega Normal. So it's off the screen. When you see the thumbs up again, it's good to go. So you should have had 5 days playtime with Omega Normal by now. I was wondering what is your opinion of it? Oh, I made a video on that, but I'll just answer real quick. Yeah, I find the first tier of Omega in terms of story way more engrossing than Alexander and Coil. Coil had all the setup, which was great, all the setup from 1.0. Took a whole failed game to set that raid up. Alexander had awful setup, and the first tier for both of them, super underwhelming. Omega wasn't like blow your mind great, but it was way better in terms of the first 4 bosses and the story happening around that point than the other 2 were. So that gets a thumbs up for me for different reasons, but now I'll thumbs up for the spoiler over thing. Number 9, hello, this is my first post-Stormblood question. So, for a bonus, you can choose one of these. Free Kopi Luwak. No, I don't want that. Free Unagi Sushi. I want that. Double Roulette reward. Fuck, I'm taking the sushi. I'm absolutely taking the sushi any day of the week. My question, hypothetically, if Sly goes AWOL and doesn't show up for Stay of the Realm, what would you do to him? Oh, the endless shaming that Sly would endure from that, as if I don't endlessly shame him enough. I wish he would fight me back a little bit more. Sly, I want you to fight me back a little bit more when I give you some shit. Because when we're hanging out in person, he gives me shit all the time. When we're on the show, he only occasionally gives me shit. I want him to give me more shit. Not like actual shit, but, like buddies do. So here's what I would do. I would have an hour-long State of the Realm where he's not there. I have no other co-hosts to panic get on with me. And I'll just throw his picture up there, and I'll make up his replies for him. I'd be like, oh, Haps, you're so great. Like, I do some shit like that for the whole hour. I shit you not, I would do that. Number 10, hello, Mr. Happy. Been watching you for years, and even met you at PAX West. Hey, glad I got to meet you there. This is my first time officially asking a question, so enjoy a first-time bonus of a Sin Mount. No, I just want my soldier. Oh, I can destroy all the Blitzball games. Yes. Yes. Okay. As someone who wants to try Savage Omega, what items and eye level should I try to stockpile and reach? You should be able to get a few pieces from Omega Normal. Ultimately, it depends on how willing you are to get crafted gear. Because if you could just get all crafted gear, if you're like, you have enough gil to do that and meld it, there you go. You're set. Like, that's all you need. And then just get your tomestones every week and you'll be all right. Otherwise, I mean, like, honestly, 310, like 314 should be the bare minimum you reach, because that's like just Lakshmi, Susano, and like left side 110 gear plus the belt and the ring. Then you should be able to get a belt and a ring from Omega Normal by that point, and then maybe 1 or 2 other pieces from Omega Normal. I don't remember what the optimal path looks like. But yeah, you should be able to get like 316, 317, and even then, just as long as you had the 314, that bare minimum should be enough. I'd probably say 315, 316 is like the actual place you'll probably be by the time that comes out. Number 11, hello, Haps, new listener and first time question, so you get a salmon roe. All the salmon roe. Oh, you guys know what I like. Anyway, question, never tanked, fear, anxiety, flushed through my veins, thinking about it, can't sleep at night, but for real, best advice learning how to, endless nights watching dungeon guides. Find friends. There's no R there. I feel like I could tank 4.0 dungeons, but all the old content, I'd be lost. If you can tank 4.0 dungeons, the old shit is super easy, dude. It's not like they scale in difficulty. It's scale in difficult. Do you know the fights on DPS? Great. Then you know the fights on tank for pretty much any 4-man dungeon. Just gotta pop your cooldowns occasionally. That's it. There's nothing to it but to do it, man. You're overthinking it. You're in your own head. Get out of that head. Get out of there and just do it. You'll be fine. Number 12. Hey, Haps. Going well, I hope. Hey, yes, it is. Why are people up in arms over Warrior? You know, if this was World of Warcraft, that would have been a great pun, but it's not. It's just because the beast gauge is not satisfying when you're changing stances. If you could just sit in one stance, it's pretty nice. I was gonna say fun, and then I changed it because it depends. It's pretty nice, but as soon as you need to change gauge, they're way more punished than the other two jobs for changing gauge. Yes, Paladin also loses half its gauge from changing, but they just have Sheltron and Intervention, and they get sword gauge per auto attack, not even per weapon skill, per auto attack, and they get gauge from shield oath from blocking. Like, they don't even have to think about it, and none of their major damage is tied into their oath gauge. So whereas warriors, their mitigation is tied into their beast gauge, their damage is tied into, everything's tied into the beast gauge. Whenever you cut it in half, it sucks. Like, it really sucks. If you are just tanking, like main tanking as a warrior, you're still really strong right now. But as soon as you then switch to deliverance, you lose half that gauge, and then you don't, it's just clunky. That's why they're up in arms. It's really, really clunky. And considering they're supposed to be this berserker, high DPS, tanking style, I would like to see them output more with less punishment. You know what I mean? So I hope that that's what they adjust going into 4.05. So that's what's on my hope list, my wish list for them. Number 13, hey Haps, thanks so much for answering my question last week. You're welcome. Don't remember what it was. Not sure if you saw my comment on the YouTubes, but in short, you widened my perspective. So thank you very much. As for my question, nice and short. As a DPS, what is the likelihood you think Square Enix will hear the DPS cries for earning a bonus depending on how long you've been waiting in queues? Instead, they're going to give more rewards to people who are who are needed in the queues. As we've seen with the Adventure and Need bonus at this point, which was after this question was posted, that's been working pretty well so far. So we'll see how they do like the rewards for that going forward. I don't think they'll ever give you more rewards for waiting longer. I think their higher priority is just not making you wait longer. So that's what seems to be this Adventure Need thing. My queue today, leveling roulette on a Sunday, which, everyone's off, or most people are off, 13 minutes. Not bad. And then during peak times, down to like 6-7 minutes. Not bad at all. So it's definitely gotten better, and it can still get better. So we'll see how they do it. Number 14, hi-yo, Haps. Sorry, I have to do it. Every time I see hey-yo, hi-yo, I got to do it. Long time since I asked, so I'll have a soldiery bonus. Something that came to my mind recently was the thought of spectacle creep. That developers put in more and more fancy abilities. Every expansion has to be cooler than the last. Oh, yeah, I get what you mean. Well, I mean, that is kind of how people react. People don't want something that's equal or less than what they got before. They want the next thing to always be better. That's just our generation. That's just how we function as a generation now. So yeah, I mean, that's what they're trying to do. And at some point you wonder, can it really get more spectacular than this? But yeah, there's definitely a thing. But how do you beat Deathflare, and then you get Bahamut and Ockborn? So what's next? Everyone's like, I guess Neo Bahamut is next, because what the hell do you do? Now, level 80, here's Summoner. You're going to start the fight, you're going to have your 3 ether stacks, right? Then you're going to get your ether trail, then you're going to go what you got at level 60. You're going to go Dreadworm, which is really badass. Then you get your second Dreadworm ether, and you get Bahamut, right? But now Bahamut's going to stay out for a full minute, and then you're going to get 3 ether trail again, and then while you have Bahamut, you use Dread ether to turn him into Neo Bahamut, and that's going to be your new rotation at level 80. I'm telling you, that's what's going to fucking happen to Summoner. No, but yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to keep one-upping it over and over again. All right, number 15. Thanks for the hello, by the way. Out of curiosity, do the NPCs in Stormblood main scenario quests have different response based on your answers? Yeah. Okay, question done. Yes, they do. Number 16. Hey, Haps, love your show. Just want to say thank you for answering my questions and make me feel like part of the community. That's because you are part of the community. No spoilers. This is a normal thumbs up. Since convention demands, I must ask you a question. What is your favorite sushi roll? Dude, you have to make me pick one? Oh, because I like all kinds of sushi and sashimi and how do I pick one? How do I pick one? I'm a big fan of like soft shell crab rolls. I love soft shell crab. But I had this one, and I know it's not going to really count as sushi. I had a deep fried sushi where they make the sushi roll, and then they put the whole roll, they dip the whole roll in batter, and then they fry it for like a minute. And that was amazing. That being said, that barely counts as sushi because it's fucking deep fried. So I guess I'll just go with like a regular soft shell crab roll, which is also fried, but the crab is fried, not the entire sushi roll. All right, number 18, Ohio. Ohio. Happy. I hope you enjoyed Omega so far. 1, what are the rules for music when you stream on Twitch? Can you use any music? So yes, you can use any music on Twitch. Just keep in mind that if it is a copyrighted song, that your VODs will be muted. So that way you don't break any copyright laws or anything like that. If it's not, which is what I like to do, I like to use copyright-free music like NCS or Monster Cat. And I'll stream with that. That way, if like I do anything on stream that I want to put on YouTube, I don't have to worry about copyright laws going over to YouTube. So that's my #1 recommendation when it comes to Twitch. Number 2, you made mention of your 4.01 patch notes that most people don't make it to the end of the video. On average, how far do people get on your videos before they stop watching? Does it vary with the type of content? Yes. So Mondays with Mrhappy State of the Realm have incredibly long watch times. Whereas shorter videos that last between 7 or 8 minutes, generally people, because they're guides, people just kind of absorb maybe 3 to 4 minutes of it, or they skip around a little bit. They use the little things. Maybe they just want to know a single mechanic that they didn't understand or something like that. And sometimes people just click on a video and then after a minute or two, they decide it's not exactly what they were looking for. So it varies, but on a 8-minute video, yeah, usually about 4 minutes, about 50% is a normal amount. It depends on, I mean, I have all that data. I'm just not going to look it up in the middle of the video. I have all my like demographics and stuff like that. We're provided that from YouTube. So yeah, it depends entirely. Let's Plays actually for me have the lowest because I'm not a very big Let's Player or a good Let's Player at that. So those definitely have, all their longer videos, they have lower view times comparatively to the length of the video. And then number 3, how much of a YouTube video does a viewer have to watch in order for a poster to get revenue? So when they watch the ad in the beginning and the middle. So revenue on YouTube is something that varies greatly with a lot of different things. 1, where is your viewer? Are they in an English-speaking area? Are they in a Spanish-speaking area? Basically, people who pay for ad space pay more depending on the region. So like an English-speaking ad is generally valued higher than, let's say, I don't know, I'll just pick a random region, like a South American ad, I suppose, like a Brazilian ad or something like that. Then you have, you know, how long did they watch for? Well, how long did you watch for factors into a few things. 1, it factors into how much is the ad space on your video worth. Because if people are watching longer and you can get multiple ads through a video, or it means that they're more loyal to your videos, then the ad pays more. Or if obviously if people click the ad, it pays more. Then on top of that, you know, if you watch the video longer, you also get more of those ads that are at the bottom. And this is the problem with YouTube in general, is that if you're not a YouTube Red member, those ads are the only way that YouTubers making money effectively, which is why YouTube itself has struggled with the ad market, especially as of late. YouTube Red, personally for me, has seen a large increase over time. And I've actually preferred the way YouTube Red works, where it does exactly depend on how much of your video people are watching. So the idea with YouTube Red, if you want to earn a higher income from there, is strictly to get people to watch more of your videos. It's actually been a very good dynamic because I have content like this, Mondays with Mr. Happy, I have content like State of the Realm, and it's made my life a lot easier without me having to turn to my viewers and be like, hey guys, just so you know, because of this change, yada, 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 things are harder, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to do that whole thing because YouTube Red is just like a natural evolution of the way that of YouTube works now. So there's a ton of different things. I could tell you maybe like 20 different demographics that affect ad revenue, but those are just some basics. Number 19, evening, Happy. Kiltastic Jones here. Got 2 questions this week, 1 quick and 1 spoiler-filled. Well, thank you for warning me ahead of time, good sir. So the first one is the non-spoiler question. 1, Yoshi P mentioned previously that the location of the new Deep Dungeon would be obvious. Yeah. Just look up in the Ruby Sea and, yeah. Yeah. I think that answers the question. All right, next is the spoiler question. So thumbs up, spoilers started. Clicking this off the screen. Let's go. Previously, in discussing Omega, you said you'd expect X-Death to be in it, and if I remember correctly, expected to be a boss in the later tier. I expected X-Death to be the ultimate villain. I didn't expect him to be the final boss of the first tier. Seems to have a gamut of Final Fantasy V bosses. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it worked out. Ultimately, I have to accept that the other tiers of Omega will probably use bosses from other games. That being said, I don't know exactly how the next tier is going to work. Like, there's no way any prediction could be right at this point. Any prediction could also be wrong at this point. I think the story itself and the way it's evolving is good, and I don't feel like throwing in the other Final Fantasy villains is taking away from it. It's explained, And at the same time, it's not obtrusive to the story because they're not the ones playing a role. You, as the character, as well as the people you're in there with, are the people who are playing the primary role in the story. And I feel like that's pretty important because normally I look to bosses to add impact, but here I'm just absorbing the story for what it is, and everything just kind of fits and makes sense in there. So I've been enjoying it a lot, and I am looking forward to seeing what comes out of the next 4 bosses in Omega and the story that comes out of that next tier. By the way, spoiler done. All right, number 20. Hi, Mr. Happy. No bonus because of rules and such, but I'll put a link to some cool art I made. Well, I can't click that here because as much as I trust you because you've posted a lot, I have to be responsible here. So, you know, and also because it's like this tiny section on the bottom. So someone wants to type that in to YouTube. Just, you know, just safe filter off. Don't be a bitch. Anyway, so my question is, what's up with the Kojin's head faces? Are they wearing helmets? Yeah, they're definitely wearing helmets. Their mouths don't move. They have to be wearing helmets. They're even wearing their shells. They're not, like, attached to their body through, like, what seems to be anything more than just a strap over the shoulder, pretty much. So, yeah, they're definitely wearing helmets. In fact, I think there's a direct reference somewhere where they talk about wearing... Oh, yeah, the leader Kojin, you can see he's got a completely different helmet on. Yeah, they're wearing helmets. All right, reply number 22. How would you feel about a challenge in the game where you have to complete an EX Primal? By the way, for anyone who wasn't here, I did skip number 21 because it was not a question I was interested in answering. I just said and number 22, and then I realized I've been naming every question, so if I just skip to 22 without saying anything, people are going to figure it out real quick. I skipped another one earlier that was like a repeat of a previous question, but that's two skips so far this video. How'd you feel about a challenge in the game where you have to complete an EX Primal and Savage mode completely in first-person view? Dude, I do that all the time for fun because I'm so used to doing those fights. It's not even a challenge. It's literally just like, I know the fight, so I know exactly what's going to happen. So, no. I mean, I'm okay with it, but it's just like, I don't know if an achievement for playing the game in first person is something I am particularly enthralled with. Number 23, hello from England's green and pleasant lands. Unfortunately, no first-time bonus, so all I can give you is a house in the goblet. How disappointing. Of all the zones, the goblet? Anyway, I guess that's okay. Anyway, I've seen quite a few videos over the years on YouTube, including one from yourself where people run into a player called Mr. Face. Yes. And it seems he's quite famous on some servers. Can you explain to me who Mr. Face is and why people get hyped when they see them? So here's the thing. Don't tell him I told you this. But Mr. Face, he's not just famous. He's a legend. He's a ghost. And nobody believes in him, right? Until you see him in person. You're like, who's that Mr. Face guy I hear so much about? I've never seen Mr. Face. And then when you're not looking, maybe you're waiting in Ralger's Reach for the hunt board to reset. Maybe you're in Kugane doing the jump puzzle. Maybe you're about to zone, maybe you were back in the day about to zone into Second Coil waiting in North Shroud for everyone to get there. Wherever it ends up happening, one day, you will meet Mr. Face, and you will believe. And he's pretty much exists on like every server in the game. So yeah, you don't know which one is the real one. You'll just have to know that he's there, watching. By the way, follow him on Twitter. It's Denmo. Oh, also, there was a second part asking me to slow down my speech. It's really weird because I didn't read that until after I had already slowed down my speech for the Mr. Face question. So, yeah, I'm Italian. I'm from New Jersey. We go bada baboopy, and that's it. We speak fast. So, as much as I'd like to say, I'll try to speak slower. I've said that a million times before, and it never works. So, I'll try, but eh. All right, number 24. Yo, senor. You spelled senor wrong. There's an H in there. Senor. Heard that English speakers have a difficulty pronouncing the nior. I don't know if the senor. Senor. There's an H in there, so I don't know. It's getting kind of weird. Anyway, also I heard that you enjoy watching some competitive fighting gameplay. Well, you watch Evo this year. I watch Evo every year. I don't get to watch all of Evo, but I watch some of Evo. Speaking of which, here's my first true question. I have a bonus of a button that sends the next person who mentions Blitzball to the void. What is this, like the Zeno button from Dragon Ball Super? Is that what's going to happen? In the new Dissidia, we already have a 14 hero representation with Y'shtola. Who do you think is the best to pick for a villain? So I would have normally said Gaius, but Gabronth is obviously going to be in the new Dissidia at some point because he was one of the villains from the original. So, I mean, you could technically do La Habrea, but even that's kind of eh. And then you have people like Xenos, and I don't know, because like the problem is the ultimate villains are the Asians, and La Habrea was such a big problem for such a long time. But then you have Elidibus, who doesn't actually fight; he just kind of defends himself. I don't know. There's so many different people it could be. But I feel like ultimately it needs to be somebody from the Empire. The problem being that our Empire is inspired from Final Fantasy 12s, and it's such a problem that it's really hard for me to pick one person. Honestly, all I know is I just want Curious Gorge in Dissidia. All right, that's all I want. All right, and you said your pick is a spoiler. I don't want to do the whole spoiler thing just for your pick, so I'm gonna read it without scrolling down to it. And I'll be like, yeah, no, that's a good choice too. That's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler. Nail Van Darnus. I would take Nail. I'm down with that. Number 25. Hey, Haps. I hope your day is going well. It's the first time asking you here. Here's an IOU. One bonus. Feels bad, man. Couldn't even think up a bonus. You took all this time to type the rest of the question. Couldn't come up with a bonus. It's all right. I'll hold on to this IOU, and I'll remember that name, and I'll be back. My question today is actually YouTube. What, man, a lot of YouTube-related questions today. It's so unusual. Just started creating videos when Stormblood released since I fell in love with Red Mage. It's taken a lot of time and effort to get started since I had to teach myself video editing. But I'm addicted to it. Released 2 guides for Red Mage so far, but I can't seem to get them to show up high on search lists. So it sounds like you're asking me about the very popular art of SEO, or search engine optimization. So tagging your videos is very, very important in learning what tags are high priority on YouTube so that they get more visibility. That is the thing you want to work on. If you want more general lessons on SEO, there's a lot of information out there that you'll get better information from than a YouTube video from me where I'm answering a bunch of questions. But look up, try to learn SEO. Try to learn some search engine optimization, and that should help out. Technically, you're looking at YouTube engine optimization, but even on Google, sometimes people just Google a thing hoping to find a YouTube video to pop up. So it's not that unusual that even search engine optimization on tags there is going to help you out quite a bit. Definitely work on that, because that looks like you have an entire second paragraph here, and it looks like that's what it's going to try to be. Don't worry about it making front page. That's going to depend on people's recommended for you and stuff like that. So just work on those tags at the bottom of the video. Number 26. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you're having a great day. Like I said, it's hot as hell, and you can start to see I'm starting to glisten a little bit here. First time asker, but long time viewer, so I have a bonus of getting to use Touch of Slaughter, man. Just give me Touch of Slaughter. So first I want to say thanks for the videos you put out. They've helped me through a lot of the years. Can't wait to see what you put out next. Thank you. So 2 questions. Seems classes with gap closures have it easiest with the pushback mechanics, being able to practically avoid it completely by closing the gap just as you're pushed. Yet I don't see a lot of people doing that. Is there a reason not to? A lot of people, so I'll speak specifically with Monk. Shoulder tackle is regularly used just as straight up damage. You're supposed to intelligently know when you're going to need shoulder tackle for a mechanic coming up in the next handful of seconds versus just using it on cooldown to get the added DPS. And that's the thing, a lot of people use them just like as part of their rotation, because a lot of those gap closers, other than, I guess, things like Shikuchi, those have no damage tied to them, but then they require people to press an extra button, so they don't do it. Whereas the ones that have damage tied to them, people just use them to, do damage, and then when the knockback comes, they just ignore it. Also, a lot of people don't use, like, anti-knockback skills. I've seen plenty of paladins that don't pop Tempered Will. I've seen warriors that, even if they don't need Holmgang for anything else, they won't use that. I've seen melee DPS that don't use Arm's Reach, or they don't save their gap closer. There's a lot of different aspects that flow into it. So it's just a matter of people needing to learn fights, and sometimes people just don't care whether or not they're off the boss for like half a second or something like that. 2, what would you consider being best to Meltifar for Monk? So in a vacuum, a lot of people are saying direct hit looks really good. On tanks, it looks like tanks basically are the vacuum in which direct hit is at its most effective. Monk, I'd like to say crit because of, crits are generally strong on Monk, not just because of deep meditation, but because they're fucking crits. So they kind of just adds up when you have something like deep meditation, and then you value those direct crits or those critical hits alone on things like Forbidden Chakra and Tornado Kick more frequently. But I need to see stat weights, man. I'm not one of those people that's mathed out any of the stats, so it just looks on the surface like critical hit rate will be strong for Monk. But who knows, maybe the scaling on deep meditation, the people who do the math, they find out it's not worth going high enough crit and just kind of accepting the 1 in every 6 GCDs as a guaranteed crit with that with Bootshine, and direct hit ends up ending to a net gain that's more reliable. Who knows? I'll have to wait and see what the people who do the math actually say, because I'm not one of the people that does the math. Number 27. Hey, Mr. Haps. First time askers have a bonus of top rolls on future minions from the Stormblood dungeons. I actually think I have most of them. I have I have Coral Fist. I have Grinwat. I don't remember. I don't have the Sparrow, I don't think, from Bardam's Medal. I think I have both the 61 and 63 dungeon. I have, well, Guido and I don't remember the other one. I don't remember the other minions I don't have. I have most of them, so we'll see what I actually end up getting. So it's a simple question. What is the action of the melee DPS True North? I'm not sure what it is or what it does. It basically it removes all positional requirements from everything that you do. Abilities, weapon skills, everything. So if you're a melee, you have positionals that you need to do to either get bonus Kenki on Samurai or bonus damage on Monk or on Dragoon or on Ninja. You know, they have those added effects, or Trick Attack on Ninja. If you use True North, those positional requirements are automatically fulfilled regardless of what side you're standing on. Simple as that. All right, number 28. Hello, Mr. Happy. Final sim here, and welcome to my. Please have not a super weird question this week, because you've had I've had to skip a few of yours in the past. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's free chickens. All right, I see free chickens, because that's now our joke. The free chickens question was great though. Keep asking questions like that. Let's see. We keep saying meta, and this job is meta, and the other job is meta. What in the hell does the word meta mean? Fuck, dude. I mean, it's technically people have made. Well, you know what META means, but God, my brain is so dumb right now. I had it on the tip of my tongue and I just lost it. But it's a play on another word. God, chat, help me out here. My brain is so dumb right now. Oh, brain. So people say most efficient tactic available, but that's not actually what meta is. That's something people made up later. It's a play on an actual word. No, not metagame. There's another word. I'm losing it. Not metabolism. No, not metabolism. Oh man, game of the game. All right. Well, whatever. We'll go with metagame for now. Game within a game. There you go. We'll go with metagame. We'll go with metagame as that one. I don't think that's the word that I was looking for, but metagame. There you go. It's part of the word metagame, and it's just short for the word metagame, which is game of the game, which is to maximize your efficiency. People eventually did make that whole thing where it's most efficient tactic available, but that's not actually what it is. It's just something people came up with later, pretty much. One more question. Do you think the Warrior of Light needs to have voiced dialogue? No. For the love of God, never voice the Warrior of Light. That would get really weird. If it's supposed to be my incarnation and it's voiced, I'm not digging it. Number 29. Hey, Haps. No, it just says, hey, Happy. I don't know why I made up the intro. Thanks for everything you do. I have a question pertaining to loot in Omega and how you find it's best distributed. If running with a full and regular static through normal and into Savage, what do you find is the best way to allocate loot to be fair and efficient? Well, it doesn't matter if you're running with a full group, because ultimately you can just run it over and over again until everyone gets the exact same loot. As for what's most efficient, I mean, I just buy crafted gear when it comes out, so I don't have to worry about Omega normal gear. I pick up some Omega normal gear, and then I pick up the rest as crafted. So it really depends on what your resources are looking like. There's actually an old guide for Alexander that I think somebody reposted using Omega's loot table. Alexander normal and Omega normal pretty much have the exact same ways that their loot table works. So if you just copy that, there's like a most efficient 5-week method to getting everything from Omega Normal's loot system. So I would just Google that real quick, and that should help you find that. Yeah, it's a combination of tokens to accumulate the actual gear. Yeah. I think we have 3 questions left on the forums, and then I should have some time for some questions from the chat itself. Hello, Mr. Happy. That was bad, man. I picked up on the fact that it was all deliberate, but still. I have a question. I hope. So you know how any form of combat in Kugane is pretty much a death sentence? How's the Warrior of Light in the Stormblood trailer, when it's being chased by a group of Garleans held at gunpoint, actually fired upon, only to kill all of them at once? Dude, I've been wondering that ever since, because we were told that the Sekisagumi was, not tolerant of any of that shit. But I guess they weren't going to try and show an entire city turning on the Warrior of Light in a trailer, because that's not sexy for a trailer. And it also is not as important as our war directly with Garlemald. So I would have just wasted time in the trailer. It's pretty much the main reason why it's not there. All right, number 31. Good morning, afternoon, Mr. Happy. I hope you're enjoying the Omega raid. I did. Now I'm waiting till Tuesday for Zodiac Age. Yeah. Here are my questions. I basically got all the Garo stuff. How should I spend my wolf marks? Depends, because if you want to buy the old Garo gear, not the old Garo gear, the old PvP gear, the pre-Garo gear, You could desynthesize that. I don't know if there's anything in particular that's good from it for money, but I used to do that, and it was pretty effective back then, so maybe it's still effective now. And two, with Omega Savage coming, some of my static have been talking about getting all Battlecraft gear. And Pentamelda, yeah, we've been talking about this all video. That's a lot of gil. It doesn't matter if you're world first material. Here's the thing, world first people will always take any small advantage. Some people just want to get higher tier gear, and some people just have gil and they have no other reason to spend it. So it's not about worth as in like, is it worth doing if you're not world first? It's literally, if I want to get it, I'm not doing world first, I'm still going to get crafted gear. That's really all it eventually comes down to, is just, you know, do you want to do it, as opposed to grinding Omega Normal every week to try and get gear for that same job when you're going into Omega Savage. It's up to you. It's up to you. That's it. That's it. Oh, yeah, I said 3 questions. This is definitely the last one. Hello, Mr. Haps. Not a first-time asker, but I still want to give you something nice. I have a free trip to my home country of Sweden. I thought you were just going to say a free trip to your home, and I was like, all right, I'm absolutely calling the police before I get there. Hotels and food included. I know some people in Sweden. So on to my question. My question is about Square Enix trying to make players play tank or healer. So far, we've seen the mount achievements, the crack clusters, which never change from tank. No, that's not true. I saw Adventure and Need DPS after they did the crack cluster change. My mind was blown. Oops. As a healer main, I feel really left out since we are also pretty much in demand, and there really aren't any initiative to play healer besides fast queues. I'm trying to say is I think Square Enix should add more initiative to play healer, like mounts or glam or anything really. What do you think? I mean, yeah, it should be tanks and healers, because they're the 2 roles that are less. But I think there's less tanks than there are healers at this point, because some people weren't. A lot of people played warrior and like got on the warrior train for Heavensward, and then when warrior, you know, it's gotten kind of clunky, some people didn't move back to Dark Knight or Paladin. They moved to healers and DPS. So I think tank's probably a little bit more in need than the other things at the moment, but healer in the long term is one of those things that they should definitely be looking at. And the friggin' unicorn mount from the level 30 Conjurer quest is not good enough. So yeah, they could definitely do with more of that. All right, so on that note, I'm going to close the questions from the forums. That was the last one. I'm going to take a couple from the Twitch chat. Just a couple, not too many. And, well, let's see what you got, Twitch chat. All right, so holy moly, there's actually, like, I very rarely have a ton of great questions in the chat. And I actually have a lot of really good ones coming from the Twitch chat today, so I'm going to try to pick just a few of them. So I have this one that says, how do you keep track of everything going on in-game when running a duty or trial all the time? So I guess I could use for the little bit of clarification, because when I'm playing content, I'm regularly streaming. So I'm not only paying attention to what's happening in-game, I'm paying attention to stuff that's happening out of game as well, like my Twitch chat and what music's happening. And, you know, I'm generally checking Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or things like that for, you know, notifications and emails. And I don't know. I just do. Like, I used to make so much excuses. Even now, I still kind of make excuses for, like, not doing things on occasion. And that's kind of just my active effort to not do that. Like, I don't want to say, oh, you know, I didn't see that AoE because this other thing distracted me. Sometimes I'll blame it on Twitch chat, but that's mostly for fun. It's pretty easy to admit right afterwards that I fucked it up. So it's really just it's an active effort thing. I make an active effort to pay attention to all those things. I don't just kind of take them for granted. So that's the best I can really make my answer. All right, so the next question I have here, and like I said, I'm going through a ton of great ones, so if I don't get your question, I apologize. It's just like a wall of red for me that are all pretty good. Let's see. Happy, do you think 14 would benefit from an in-game bestiary, providing more lore, concept art, and a model viewer? I mean, I always love things like that, but let's be honest, one of the main reasons we don't see that maybe is probably because they can sell things like art books and stuff like that. And if they put it in game, it's kind of harder to do it. Some people like something tangible more, but if they do it, it's kind of almost taking from their own market. I mean, Square Enix is a business first and foremost. I'm not saying they're intentionally withholding it from the game. They may just never have thought of doing it that way because it's not really how they've done it ever before. But I'd have to imagine, even if it did cross their mind, so many people buy the art books and stuff like that, that I'd have to imagine they would still refrain from doing it for business reasons. Let's see, we got another one. Mr. Happy, with the addition of job and story potions, do you feel like the community backlash is a bit more, or is some of it valid? It's valid in spurts. Like, there are definitely people who jump potion, have no idea what they're doing, and make no effort to learn. That happens. But you know what? I've also played with people who are max level 70, who do the same exact thing, but they didn't jump potion. So it's hard for me to have backlash on one side and not have backlash, and then not have backlash on the other. whenever I see a situation like that, I've seen a lot of jump potion people come into my stream and on my YouTube channel and stuff like that, and they've legitimately asked, hey, I just used a jump potion, and I came from World of Warcraft, so I know what people think about them. I want to make sure I'm not one of those. So what do I do? How do I do this? I've seen a lot of people do that, and it's really refreshing when I see it. But whenever I see someone who doesn't make that effort, I go, you know what? It's going to take so much more energy out of me to bash them, to go on a forum, to make a video about it. It's like, it's just for so much negativity. I don't want to put that much energy into that much negativity. So I'd rather just try to be better. And, you know, maybe I have to do something. Maybe I have to put in extra effort for like a super easy instance than I normally do. Maybe I have to get used to rezzing people more. Maybe I have to throw out a lot more heals and a lot less DPS. Maybe I got to make a playstyle change. But if it gets me through this instance and, you know, to the next thing, I don't have to worry about it, because I've run into these players for years, players who have no inclination to improve their play or to even remotely take the advice of other players, and I'm not going to put that much negative energy forth to try and resolve an issue that is not resolvable, like, and never has been in the history of MMOs. So I think the community backlash is somewhat valid, but at the same time, sometimes it's better to just close your mouth, deal with the issue at hand, and move on, because it's so much energy out of you to do anything otherwise. All right, I'm going to do 2 more questions from the Twitch chat. This first one I mentioned at the beginning of the video, so I'm kind of glad to answer it towards the end now. Mrhappy, do you like the new Spider-Man more than the previous Spider-Man? This one was great for a lot of different reasons. It's not only at the top of my Spider-Man movies, like of the 6 that I've seen, but also at the top of my Marvel movies in general, because it didn't feel like it conformed as much to the general tropes that the Marvel movies do. It totally did, don't get me wrong. It totally still did that to some degree, but it felt a lot more grounded and there's another word I'm looking for there that it's escaping me right now. I thought it was good. I thought Tom Holland was great. I thought the humor was on point and an original take on the humor than the other Marvel movies generally do, especially considering the proposed age of this Spider-Man and his interactions with adults kind of being one of the primary aspects of it. I'd say it's a must-win. For me still, though, in terms of villains for Spider-Man, I still look all the way back to Doc Ock from the original Spider-Man 2 as, like, my favorite. The train scene in Spider-Man 2 will probably always be one of my favorite, like, superhero fight scenes. I just, even after all the Avengers movies, all the Marvel movies, and the DC movies, that train scene in Spider-Man 2 is still, like, one of my hands down, like, where I set my expectations for fight scenes when it comes to superhero movies, because that was incredible. So I don't think anything ever matches that. I don't think anything ever has yet since I saw that scene. But the whole movie I would take over the other 5 Spider-Man movie for certain. All right, so I said I was going to do 2 more questions. However, there's so many questions. I pretty much answered them all, like, off of Mondays with Mrhappy, because, like, I could answer them super quick. I was like, oh, let me just do this one real quick. And they were, like, you know, 5 or 6 word answers. Probably the best questions I had, or the questions I spent the most time talking about, was people asking me about Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age, which comes out Tuesday. Like, someone was asking, how do you feel about it being even easier than the original Final Fantasy XII? For those who don't know, International Zodiac Job System is what Zodiac Age is based off of. It was the international version of Final Fantasy XII, similar to how the HD remake of Final Fantasy X was the international version of the original Final Fantasy X. So IZJS was, the main game was 1,000,000 times easier than the original Zodiac, the original Final Fantasy XII, for a number of reasons. The only thing that was harder was the very top of the 100 floor tower, where you have to fight all the judges at once. That's generally considered to be one of the harder encounters across Final Fantasy in general. However, Zodiac Age fixes a lot of the annoyances that both of the old Final Fantasy XII games have that it doesn't have. Like, the spell queuing system is not a problem in Zodiac Age. It doesn't exist in Zodiac Age, which makes spellcasters a lot stronger, because that really weakened them back in the day. It also has the whole second license board, the second job license board, if you choose to use it, which there are some incredibly overpowered combinations of the jobs that you can combine in that. Either ones that sort of, not exaggerate, it encourages the use of certain combinations that either cover for weaknesses or double up on the strengths of certain jobs. So you can absolutely massacre things in Zodiac Age if you're smart with it. It just makes the progression of the game more fun and feel less weighed down by the technology of the PlayStation 2. So it's easier ultimately, but it's more fun, I think, is what people are going to find with Zodiac Age. It's just, there's so much experimentation and ability to do multiple runs, to try different job combinations and stuff like that. It's a much more exciting game overall. That's what I think people will find with Zodiac Age. But anyway, as much as I said I didn't really like any of the questions, I figured I'd at least elaborate on that point since I spent so much time talking about it prior to actually going into recording mode for YouTube. But that's going to be my last question for Mondays with Mr. Happy this week. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions this week. Be sure to ask your questions for next week in the YouTube thread. Those of you watching on Twitch, go to the YouTube video tomorrow, and you can go to the forums there. Or join me every Sunday. We live stream me answering the questions from the forum and taking some live Twitch questions. We do that every Sunday at approximately 12:30 Pacific. So if you're here around that time, you'll usually catch the beginning where I do the forum questions, and then within 45 minutes, I'm usually answering the Twitch questions. But anyway, thank you again. I'm going to hang out with my Twitch chat for a few more minutes before I wrap things up. So over on the YouTube side, I will see you next week. And until then, take care.